I want to play for you Caroline Leavitt today at the White House press conference. It's Cube Cut 35, talking about how just already, as they launch this now crackdown in Washington, D.C., the surge that began Monday night, 850 officers and agents surged across the city. Take a listen.
Approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests, including multiple other contacts. Last night, these arrests consisted of homicide, firearms offenses, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, fare evasion, lewd acts, stalking, possession of a high-capacity magazine, fleeing to elude in a vehicle, no permits, driving under the influence, reckless driving, and a bench warrant.
So one of the themes, of course, is that the Dems are melting down because they know this is going to work. They know this is going to be effective. And they're not happy about this because, once again, Trump is going to win. And I think it was Chris Cillizza, who wrote for the Washington Post, who made the comment that Trump is, again, setting a trap for Democrats. Setting a trap for them to walk into, and they'll walk into it because they're stupid and they just reflexively have to be against everything that Trump is doing. So if he now is sending in law enforcement to support D.C., even the mayor, who's now saying we need the help, they just have to be against it. Benny Johnson was the guy who today was in the White House press seat, talked about how his own house was set on fire in D.C. He's in the new media seat at the White House press briefing. Take a listen.
As a D.C. resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol Hill. I witnessed so many muggings and so much theft. I lost track. I was carjacked. I have murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings. I witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20. And my house was set ablaze in an arson with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that D.C. is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on securing this.
Amazing, right? So are they afraid it's going to work? Are they afraid that Trump is going to do something here successful? It's going to make D.C. stay safe, and then people are going to want to go there again. Yeah, I mean that's a big concern. I don't know how effective it's going to be, though, once the feds leave, and that's the issue, because D.C. has put in all these policies that tie the hands of the cops. And this is something that the head of the police union was referencing when he was saying that you've got 950 vacancies, and all these laws that are designed to protect juveniles who are committing crimes, serious crimes. And it may work in the short term, but until you reform the laws in D.C., I don't know how long it works. The feds can't be there forever. That's the problem. And even though it's D.C. and it's federal, they could revoke the home rule charter in Congress. I don't know if they're going to. They should, because there's no excuse for having the nation's capital be besieged by crime. Hell, there's no excuse for Philly to have a crime problem. There's really no excuse in this day and age for any city to have a crime problem. Given the amount of money we have in this country, given the resources we have with technology, there really is no excuse for any city to be overwhelmed by crime. It is just simply a matter of choice. It is a choice that is made by politicians. Bottom line. And the reflexive acts of Democrats to come out and scream tyranny and manufactured emergency and everything else and all the other things that they do is because they just can't imagine that Trump is right about this, that people are cheering him on and saying, yeah, you know what? This is what needs to happen. We need this to happen because there's too much going on here in this city that is dangerous for people, and we have to do something about it. You know, we've got to do something and rein this back in. And he's responding to those people that voted for him. So let's turn to Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff authorized classified intelligence leaks to smear Trump during the Russia hoax, according to a whistleblower. Senator Adam Schiff, who was then the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. This is why all this has to come out. All the truth has to come out about Russia and the hoax and everything else. It all has to come out, and we need to get all of it in our grasp. He authorized leaks of classified information to tarnish President Trump during the Russia hoax, having assumed he would lead the CIA in a Hillary Clinton administration, according to a newly released whistleblower statement. I wonder how much of the mainstream corporate media, I wonder how much they'll cover this. I really do. I wonder how much the mainstream corporate media will actually cover this story. Probably not much. You know, Democrats love whistleblowers when whistleblowers are actually reporting on the actions of Republicans. But if a whistleblower comes out and says something on a Democrat, crickets. Let's cue up cut 19. Vice President J.D. Vance talking with Maria Bartiromo about new revelations in the Russia collusion hoax. He wants to see indictments. I want to see indictments. You want to see indictments. We all want to see indictments. Cut 19.
I absolutely want to see indictments, Maria. Look, of course, you got to have the law follow the facts here. You don't just indict people to indict people. You indict people because they broke the law. But if you look at what Tulsi and Kash Patel have revealed in the last couple of weeks, I don't know how anybody can look at that and say that there wasn't aggressive violations of the law. What they basically did is they defrauded the American people in order to take Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points and turn them into intelligence by defrauding the American people, defrauding the intelligence agencies, lying about what the intel said. They would take something that supported a Hillary Clinton campaign talking point, and they would overemphasize it and exaggerate it. They took anything that actually contradicted that narrative and they buried it deep, and through that, they actually laundered Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points through the American intelligence services. That's a violation of the people's trust. That's a violation of what our intelligence services should be doing. And I absolutely think they broke the law. And you're going to see a lot of people get indicted for that. Here's the thing that should really bother the American people. What do you want our intelligence community to be doing? I want them to be catching bad guys. I want them to be making sure that terrorists aren't going to kill innocent American civilians. I don't want them laundering Hillary Clinton's campaign talking points into the American media and giving them this air of legitimacy. It is sick and it's disgusting. It hurt the intelligence community, it hurt the American people, and it hurt the first Trump administration. We've got to have consequences for it, or we're just going to see the same play repeated again and after again.
Yeah, you know, he's right. And of course, even though he's a part of an authoritarian, totalitarian administration that doesn't care about the rule of law, he says we have to follow the law and go where the facts lead us. We can't just indict people for the sake of it. Obviously, I was being sarcastic in the first part of that. And that's true. We can't, because what you don't want to do is indict people, have a flimsy case, and then they win, because then they're empowered. So I know people are impatient. I know that there's a sense of it of, my God, you know, we're just hearing about all this talk, but we're going to see anything. You have to make sure you build cases properly. Otherwise, you'll go after these people. They'll get indicted. Sure, you indict anybody, but then they walk. Now you've vindicated them. You've now built them up stronger, and the entire idea falls apart. The idea that they were behind this Russia hoax, it all blows up in your face. So you have to follow the facts where they lead, no question about it. But Representative Steve Scalise, it's a flashback for you, told Congress that Shifty Schiff possessed over 3,500 pages of illegally obtained phone records. This is cut 20.
But I'm very concerned about what the chairman has done, and that is, and I'll yield in a moment. But he selectively put in a report the names of members of the press, of members of Congress, who he has had political disagreements with. He didn't put the names of everybody else in there. If he's got 3,500 pages of reports of phone records of people he's been spying on, he won't share all of those people that he's spying on, but he's selectively going to leak out names of members of the press who've written articles maybe that he disagrees with. That's frightening. That would be an abuse of power, but we don't know because the chairman won't share the details of what he's up to. But he did selectively put some of that in a report that wasn't even discussed in the hearings. And so, yes, it raises alarms, it raises concerns, and I would hope we get to the bottom of it.
So Schiff thought he would become the head of the CIA in the Hillary Clinton administration. The unidentified male source is whistleblower, according to the New York Post, who worked as a Democratic staffer on the House Intelligence Committee for 12 years after more than 2 decades in the intelligence community, told FBI agents in December of 2017 that the mood among the panel became indescribable after Trump's upset victory the year before. Ranking member Schiff was particularly upset as he believed he would have been appointed as the director of the CIA had candidate Hillary Clinton won the election, according to a summary of the interview obtained by the Post. In September of 2017, the same whistleblower told investigators that he had heard from congressional staff colleagues around October of 2016 Schiff would be offered the CIA job if Clinton had won. After Trump was sworn in, the September 2017 interview summary reads as follows, quote, Schiff believed Russia hijacked the election, and the United States was in the middle of a constitutional crisis. Classified information began leaking to the media. The Democratic minority leadership of the Intelligence Committee was aware of the leaks, but was under the impression that leaking the information was one way to topple the administration and fix the constitutional crisis. During an FBI interview in June of 2023, the whistleblower recalled being part of an all-staff meeting by now Senator Adam Schiff, at which the Democrats stated the group would leak classified information which was derogatory to the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and that information would be used to indict President Trump. You see, unlike what J.D. Vance said, the Democrats don't give a damn about indicting their political enemies, and they don't care if it's a lock-solid case. And in the case of this, if they indict him in D.C., you know a D.C. jury is going to find him guilty, whether he deserves it or not. The facts being what they were. If the Jack Smith case, the non-special prosecutor, that psycho-obsessed attorney, if that had not all been thrown out, Jack Smith probably would have got a conviction against Donald Trump in D.C. court because the jury is made up of lunatics. 97% of the city's liberal. So finding a jury of your peers would be impossible. The president's legal team would try for a change of venue, but good luck. So for Schiff and guys like him, unlike what J.D. Vance said about you can't just go around indicting people, you got to have the facts, you got to build a case. They don't care about that. They just indict. And then you can say he's indicted. Then you bring it to a kangaroo court in D.C. Look, he conspired with Russia. A flimsy case that would ultimately be overturned on appeal, but in the short run, you get a guilty conviction. That was the plan. That was what they wanted to do. Part of the coup against Donald Trump. And they're still going. They were still trying. I mean, this is the thing. This conspiracy is not over. This conspiracy is still ongoing. That's why you can forget about any statute of limitations. Now, the whistleblower said he objected to Schiff's idea. A summary of that interview reveals, only to be told by other participants, that they would not be caught leaking classified information. Sometime later, the whistleblower said he was approached again about leaking against Trump and responded that he believed this activity to be unethical and treasonous. The whistleblower later reached out to the FBI and was even invited to attend a mock grand jury hearing, only to later be told that the Justice Department would not investigate further. Investigators believe that Schiff was protected by the Constitution's speech or debate clause, which bars the apprehension of legislators for their professional activities except in the event of felony treason and breach of the peace. The whistleblower claimed in his June 2023 interview with the FBI that he did not believe Schiff's actions were covered by the speech or debate clause. I don't think so either. You're trying to basically frame the president. That's not covered by speech or debate. You're trying to get people to leak classified information. That's not covered by speech or debate. The whistleblower's claims were first reported by Just the News, with FBI Director Kash Patel confirming on X, "We found it, we declassified it. Now Congress can see how classified info was leaked to shape political narratives." and decide if our institutions were weaponized against the American people. Now, if you remember, Kash Patel worked as a top aide to former House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes and authored a memo accusing FBI officials of abusing their power during the Trump-Russia investigation, which proceeded under the code name Crossfire Hurricane. The whistleblower was described as friends with both Schiff and Nunes and someone who worked with senior political leaders from both major political parties. However, a October 2017 FBI memo claimed the word was spreading among committee staff that the whistleblower had been fired for a perceived lack of party loyalty. When a Republican staffer went to offer condolences, the memo relates the whistleblower told them they had lost their job because there was an expectation of leaking, and he refused to participate. He refused to participate. He did not follow the party's orders. Over drinks that evening, the whistleblower claimed that Democrats on the Intelligence Committee had established a system for leaking in which sensitive information would be given to Adam Schiff, after which a decision was made as to who would leak the information. One prominent oversharer, according to the whistleblower, was Representative Eric Swalwell, another committee member with a serious gas problem. In the December 2017 FBI interview, the whistleblower recounted how a particularly sensitive document was seen by a small group of lawmakers and staff, including Schiff and Swalwell, but leaked out almost verbatim within a day. The whistleblower allegedly claimed to have been warned to be careful because Swalwell had a reputation for leaking classified information, among other things that leaks out of his body. Schiff, who spearheaded the first indictment of Trump in 2019, had long been suspected by Republicans of leaking classified intelligence during the Russiagate saga. He also infamously read key portions of the since-debunked Steele dossier into the congressional record in 2017. You remember he was censured by Republicans for his role in Russia, the Russia hoax, only for him to be elected to the Senate the following year. Last week, the Post reported that a grand jury had been convened in Maryland to investigate whether Adam Schiff falsified bank documents and property records to acquire more favorable loan terms. So Larry O'Connor, who's a talk show host of WMAL in D.C., used to write for Breitbart, and actually used to fill in on the station here many, many years ago. O'Connor also has a podcast he does for Town Hall. He really came forward and brought the receipts about how Schiff had lied about his residence in Maryland as being his primary residence to obtain a more favorable loan, even though he represents California in the United States Senate. So the FBI earlier this month initiated an investigation into former CIA Director John Brennan, as you know, and ex-FBI Director James Comey for any potential criminal actions taken as part of the Trump-Russia probe. The Justice Department also launched a strike force last month after Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released a long-anticipated 44-page report from the House Intelligence Committee that found egregious errors committed by Brennan and the compiling of an assessment that claimed Moscow preferred Trump to defeat Clinton, which was, of course, all a lie. Here's Caroline Levitt from today's briefing. Cut number 2, the president has already said he wants to see Adam Schiff being held accountable. Take a listen.
The president has already said he wants to see Adam Schiff held accountable for the countless lies he told the American people in relation to the Russiagate scandal. I brought Tulsi Gabbard out to this podium to talk to you about all of that, and this administration is taking accountability very seriously. As for this new FBI whistleblower report, I understand Kash Patel last night declassified a 302 FBI document showing that a whistleblower who is a Democrat, a career intelligence officer who worked for Democrats on the House Intel Committee for more than a decade, repeatedly warned the FBI in 2017 that then Rep. Adam Schiff had approved leaking classified information to smear then President Donald Trump over the Russiagate scandal. This is obviously a bombshell whistleblower report. Hopefully more people in this room will cover it as such. And I have a quote from the FBI director for all of you. He has said this: "For years, certain officials used their positions to selectively leak classified information to shape political narratives. It was all done with one purpose: to weaponize intelligence and law enforcement for political gain. Those abuses eroded public trust in our institutions. The FBI will now lead the charge with our partners at DOJ, and Congress will have the chance to uncover how political power may have been weaponized and to restore accountability." That's what the administration is focused on, and hopefully we'll see some more media reports on this whistleblower allegation. If this were reversed, if this were allegations against the president or any of these cabinet officials, I'm sure everyone in this room would cover it as such.
Now, Michael Cohen, who's a scumbag and a rat and a turncoat, but he's got a prediction about Adam Schiff and Letitia James, who also, by the way, is being investigated for mortgage fraud. Remember, she also lied about multiple primary residences to obtain more favorable rates, mortgage rates. Because if it's your primary residence, you can get a lower rate than if it's a second home or a rental property or something like that. So these people lied, and he's actually predicting that they'll be held accountable. He was on MSNBC with Jonathan Capehart. Cut 21.
Look at what he's doing right now, for example, with Tish James. Look at what he's doing with Adam Schiff. And I'm going to make another bold prediction here on
a lot of
show.
predictions at 8 o'clock in the morning.
There's a lot of here. Take these notes because, mark my words, politically, they're both doomed. All right? I'm telling you right off the bat, this is a political suicide for both Tish James and Adam Schiff.
More of a political homicide.
Well,
they
yeah,
didn't do anything wrong.
but how are they going to be? How are they politically doomed if Senator Schiff comes from a blue state? Attorney General Tish James is here in a blue state. They are elected by the people. How are they doomed politically?
It'll be gerrymander. It will end up being somehow. They will end up being held
races.
Yes, but they will also be held accountable. Mark my words, they will be held accountable for the crimes that they are now looking at. That's Ed Martin who's looking at him. And I know so many people are going to say, "Oh my God, Michael Cohen is like bending the knee to Trump." No, what I'm doing is I'm actually telling you the reality. We could talk to each other all day long, and we can say, "Oh, I have 1 million followers, you have 1 million followers." It's the same million followers. 77 million Americans ended up voting for Trump. Mark my words, Ed Martin, the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, they will figure out exactly how to go after Adam Schiff, how to go after Tish James for these mortgage violations. And they
alleged
will be,
mortgage violations.
Alleged, yeah. Correct. Yeah. And they will be held accountable. That's my next prediction here on your show. And I know that I'm right because if there is a signing of a box which is wrong, and trust me, I know, I went to prison. One of my charges was on my HELOC. I had a low mortgage onto it. I had 80% equity. They held me accountable for a HELOC violation. Theirs is much worse. And
theirs is much worse. Look, either you have nobody's above the law or not. I mean, law is equal or it's not. Matt DeSantis, I'm told you have exclusive footage of Eric Swalwell leaking information. Is that correct?
This is exclusive footage. Nobody else has it.
Well, this is fantastic. Well done. Excellent. The Congressman Eric Swalwell leaking. Take a listen.
The evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from...
I don't know why I fell for that. I don't know why I thought you might have actually done your job and come up with some clip, back up this story. That would have been helpful to everybody. Not entertain the 10-year-old child that you are.
It's funny every time.
Justin, why did I fall for that?
You see the good in DeSantis too much.
Clearly. Clearly. He says, I have exclusive footage of Eric Swalwell leaking. That's what we get. That's what I get.
He was leaking.
That's true. Technically, that does count as a leak.